Austin Cyr here and Johnny Game Time Hicks here at Go Gorilla Podcast. We've got our next episode July 8th. Let's jump right into it. We've had two Suns Summer League games thus far. How long have we waited for these games to get to see our new players, Johnny?
Dude, it's been a while, and I won't lie to you. This is probably one of the most exciting summer leagues that I've looked forward to in a long time.
I don't think I've ever been excited for Summer League, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just kind of like I'll catch glimpses of the game. I'll check the stats, see how our guys are doing. But overall, I mean, I've actually set DVRs to record all the games.
They've been on ESPN.
Yeah, and I think I want to shout out to say thank you to ESPN for really starting to show this. Normally these games are on NBA TV, and
we're getting lucky right now.
Yeah, we are getting lucky, and I think a big part of it is because the league is finally starting to see where these up and coming teams they want to build that relationship starting early.
Well, there's no question about it that with the Suns, there's a lot to be excited about right here. We got the number 1 overall pick. We got 2 top 10 picks, and you add on Mikal Bridges. We've got Devin Booker, who we just signed his $158 million contract. We'll touch on in a little bit. Josh Jackson's all of a sudden starting to get more attention too. So we're being recognized as one of those true up and coming teams. Right at the top of it all, too. Very exciting on those ones there. So talking about those summer league games, Johnny, what stood out to you? We got a lot of things to look at. We got Ayton over there. We got Okobo. We've got Bender. We've got Jackson. We've got the whole rest of the crew and Devon Reed and Harrison and all these folks. What things stood out to you right there?
A couple of things is, one, they're slow to get off, right? They're not able to. They're kind of confused by the system, it seems. You see a lot of guys in the same spot, especially when Bender and Ayton play together. You would see a lot of following, they're almost not sure who should set the screen, who should be rolling. So that was a bit of a concern to me.
Yeah, a couple times I saw it where Ayton and Bender were setting the same screen on the same guy.
Yeah. And then the weird thing was neither one of them were rolling. It was just like, okay, I'm going to set this screen. And then there was nothing coming off of that. So that was a little bit concerning to me. The other major concern that I noticed was that we're not used to playing with a big guy. I mean, we had about 4 to 5 turnovers, especially in last night's game that I counted, where it should have been easy feeds into Ayton for an easy bucket, but we couldn't lob it in correctly, and therefore we missed an opportunity. It was stolen, tipped out. And so I think that when we start playing with a little bit more veterans, BK and Booker, we will see a little bit more connection, expect a little bit more from Ayton down in the post, as opposed to what they've been playing now is more of a pick and roll. But I do have a little bit of concern that Ayton isn't going full 100% at some of these pick and rolls. He kind of gets a little bit lazy. And so hopefully as the summer league progresses, he gets a little bit more aggressive and starts to really take ownership of that whole pick and roll or paint area.
What I will give him credit for, I agree with everything you said there. In this jump from the first game to the second game, though, was tangible. That first game, it was a very lackadaisical effort that we saw from our first overall pick. It was poor decisions, lack of effort, very casual under the rebounds.
Oh, yeah.
I was worried about it. I was not feeling good. I saw people online were feeling similar ways. But jump to game 2 just less than 24 hours later, and we saw him being active, moving, actually grabbing some rebounds. I feel like in the first game, they had that great highlight of him with his first NBA points, if you want to call them NBA points, with that alley-oop, and everyone's like, look at Ayton go. It's like, that was really the only decent play that he had of that first game. But the second game looked a lot better. Were there any other players besides Ayton that stood out to you in either a good way or a bad way?
Well, Reed for sure. This guy, yes, he's really making a push to be like, I need to be on this team.
He wants to be on this team, right?
And not only on the team, but a spot in the rotation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's shooting, 67%, 10 for 15. That's great. I understand it's a summer league and it's not as good a competition, but if you can shoot 67%, no matter where, even if it's a pickup game, that's impressive. So I like what I see out of Reed. And I want to touch on this because we have our connections with, Steve Nash got him behind the wall. I have a huge fascination with guys who can pass the ball and do it really, really well. And Okobo, man, I'm telling you, I'm starting to get a real soft spot for this guy.
Yeah.
Because some of those passes, he's averaging about 4.5 assists per game right now. He's getting about 20 minutes off the bench, but his passes are dimes, man. They're beautiful.
He had one in the first quarter last game, first or second quarter, where he's underneath the rim, and he throws this one-armed bounce pass through the key to the three-point line and hits Josh Jackson at the three-point line, where Jackson comes in, and it was an amazing assist. It's like the dude is a cerebral player, and he's got some skill with his passing abilities as well. Not blown away with his shooting, but I know he's competent, so it's going to be fine. But as far as the assists, the court vision, understanding where everybody's at, it's fresh, man.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me look. This is a real smile right now. I'm like,
no, for sure. And
I'm with you there.
I want to reassure all of the Suns fans that his scoring will be there. I mean, he had a couple of shots that he really could have made, and he was upset with himself that he didn't make it. This guy has dropped 41 points in a championship game in France. Like, I'm not worried about his scoring, but what I love to see is that assist, because we need that. We need guys who can pass the ball and pass the ball well. And yeah, like you said, he had a couple of those one-handed like dimes across the floor. And yeah, and so I'm really, really liking that. How about yourself? Do you see any particular players that really stood out to you that you kind of had a lot of hype coming into Summer League and then they kind of fulfilled that, or someone that has surprised you?
Sure, we got to give a shout out to Mikal Bridges, especially after his first game. 4 for 5 in that first game. Not as strong in the second game, but the dude's got a shot. It's
gorgeous.
Smooth. It comes out like your whole body's, your whole outfit is made of lotion. Like, this guy's just, it's a high release point. He's got a long wingspan. I see him as being able to fit in great defensive abilities. We know this. Mikal Bridges is going to be a great fit for what we got going on right now. You talked about how Okobo has dropped 41 points over in the Euro League.
Mm-hmm.
We also, unfortunately, not to rain on this other man's parade, but we've had another player on our team who's dropped 40-something points in the Euro League. And I'm going to say my piece right now, but then I want to turn it over to you, because I know that you have been a Dragon Bender. We'll just call it a Dragon Bender hater for a long time. And I'm still pulling, and I know we got in Kokoshkov's system, and there are things to wait on. But his first couple plays in game one looked decent. After that, it was right back to the Bender of old. I haven't been more let down with a Suns. I've been holding out hope for this dude for 3 years and 2 games into Summer League. His third Summer League. Yeah. I'm not feeling great. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm definitely I think Bender hater is the perfect description for it, because I continue to not see anything positive coming from Bender. You're talking about a guy who's averaging right now 24 minutes in the Summer League, yet he's averaging 2.5 points. That's terrible. You're 7 feet tall and you can't get over 2 points a game, 2 buckets.
That's shoot.
It. And you can shoot. Yes. As he's passing on shots where I think he should be a little bit more aggressive. He's seeming slow when he does drive the ball. He had I counted 4 wide open threes that should have been knocked out buckets, and he missed. This system should be perfect for him, and it's concerning that through 2 games he has not been able to put it together. I am concerned for him. I think that if we start, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but the Trevor Ariza coming to the Phoenix Suns. So you're talking about Trevor Ariza is going to start, and then I could definitely see if Bridges continues to develop like he has been, I could see Bender losing a lot of minutes. And I am hitting the panic button on Bender. I was already hitting that coming into this league, and this has just solidified this. Unfortunately, it sucks because now there's even less trade value for this guy.
Could have done at the beginning of the year. We had more.
Yeah, so I definitely am very, very concerned. If he does not turn it around these next couple games, Austin, I'm sorry, man. I think we got to.
It's still Summer League. It's still Summer League. We'll let it play out. It is diminishing his trade value. That is concerning. But a really exciting, otherwise, first couple of games of Summer League. I think we're right on track with where we hoped we'd be, and it's going to look like a great start of the season. Especially considering we've got our stud locked up. We've got Devin Booker on the team, contract signed.
And a guy who wants to be here. A guy who wants to be here.
We all know the stats, near close to 25, 5, and 5 last year, saying all the right things, being the right type of leader for this squad, the exact player we need. First dude from that draft class to earn this max contract, and that's something special considering we had a handful of other good players in there, from Karl Anthony Towns, and that was Porzingis' year as well, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, looking great. I'm just so honored to have him as being a part of the Suns legacy. And anything else to add with Booker signing?
Nothing else with the Booker signing. I do want to give a little rant here for a second. When I was reviewing the tape and watching the games back, a couple things that really, really frustrated me while I was watching it live was the rebounds on the long shots, and it was frustrating me. I'm like, why can't we just get in the Summer League? Yes. Like there were like 3 or 4 times where it would be a long shot and out would come a long rebound and they would get another offensive possession, the other team. And originally, like when I was watching it live, I was super, super frustrated. But then as I started to watch the tape back, I actually want to applaud, because that means that we are definitely crashing the boards. And it's not just Ayton crashing the boards. It's not just Bender trying to crash the boards. It's all 5 guys trying to crash the boards. Yeah. And I think as they get to playing with each other a little bit more, they'll kind of solidify that down. But I like the aggressiveness. That was the overall takeaway that I took from it, is they are being aggressive, really crashing the boards, sometimes a little too much, but
and they're moving. They're moving.
Yeah.
Kokoshkov is coaching this team. They're not standing around, except when they have no idea what they're doing, but they're moving. They know that there's somewhere they're supposed to be. Like maybe Ayton is standing there with his thumb up his ass and he's just like, but at least he's like, shoot, where the heck am I supposed to be right now? I got to be somewhere. They're all doing that. They're not in the right spot yet. They do look like a bunch of children when you're like your YMCA Saturday morning basketball a little bit. They do. They're big, athletic freak 5-year-olds, but they do kind of look like that. And the fact that Kokoshkov's out there, though, and we saw so much improvement from 1 to 2, I just can't wait what we're going to see from Summer League to the regular season, from game 1 to the All-Star break, and then for that playoff push. Now, that's a good segue into this playoff push. We had a couple of teams that have made some moves in our division, in our Southwest region of the United States of America. Those 3, well, 2 teams have made some moves, but we'll throw a third team in there because it's hot in conversation. We got the Lakers, we got the Spurs, we got the Golden State Warriors. We could sit here and talk all day about these teams, but what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about how these opportunities, these new things that have happened, affect the Suns' likely outcomes. What do these things have to do with the Suns as they go? Quickly with Golden State, I don't think that there's a whole ton of a lot to discuss here with Golden State. Golden State is on top. The rich got richer. This is the world. This is the United States of America these days. The rich get richer, and Golden State is no exception. Anything else to add with those guys?
No, I mean, I personally think this is very, very interesting to me. Like you said, the rich get richer, and it'll be interesting when you take on the Suns spin. Is we have talked on this show about how we think the Suns could be the next Golden State Warriors come 5 years. Yep. Now, we know that it's a little bit more difficult to get big stars here, and it'll be interesting to see if our players continue to develop, if we can end up bringing guys in like that, 1 year star should be going for max contracts or whatever. And then all of a sudden they want to start playing here, kind of like back in the Nash days, when we would sign like these guys for these 1 year contracts, and they wanted to be here because they knew we were in a winning system.
We've already got that chemistry starting to go. Think about where it was at the beginning before the draft this offseason. You had how many dudes saying they wanted to play with Phoenix? And I don't believe that it was simply because they all wanted to be the number 1 pick. Like, of course, any dude who's in the top 10 is going to want to go number 1. But these guys weren't saying, I want to be the first overall pick. They were saying, I want to play in Phoenix. I want to play with Devin Booker. I want to play with this young core. I see some things up and coming, and I want to be a part of that. And these guys are going to, the children of the today are the adults of tomorrow. And these guys are young right now, but before we know it, they're going to be in their mid-20s. They're going to be in their primes. And if we have some of our dudes start to blossom, exactly to your point, we're going to have more guys who are going to want to come and be a part of this chemistry, be a part of this winning organization, just like how Golden State has done. Really quick thing with Golden State one there. Everybody rants and goes off about how it's just so disappointing to see Golden State do this. But Golden State, I got to give a shout out to them. They're doing nothing but what they absolutely should be doing, and they're not doing anything in a foul way at all. Let's consider this. First off, their core is Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. They drafted all three of those dudes, and not a single one of those guys was taken in the top 5. Steph Curry was taken number 7. That was the first guy taken off the board there. Draymond Green was taken in the 2nd round. These guys were not expected to be on this level. Second off, they didn't acquire that, and that core right there won 73 games. Amazing.
Yep.
But this team added Kevin Durant after they lost in the finals. They were not good enough to win that year in the finals.
70 and winning 70 plus games.
Yeah, so they were great, but they weren't good enough to win in the finals that year against LeBron. So they had to get better. They went out and got better. Then this year we saw them add Boogie Cousins. Everyone's freaking out about that. But let's not forget that the rest of the league is trying to compete. No one here is rolling over and dying. No. You don't see the Rockets saying, I guess we'll go ahead and just build for the future. You don't see the Thunder saying, we're just going to go ahead and cash it in. You don't see the Timberwolves saying, let's just go trade all of our young assets. No, these guys are trying to compete right now. And we talked about the Rockets there. They were a healthy Chris Paul away from beating the historic Golden State Warriors in that Western Conference Finals. They took them to 7. Yep. So we saw the Warriors show some vulnerabilities, or at least not show imperviousness to any other team's ability to take them out. So adding Boogie Cousins in my book, first off, makes great sense for Boogie Cousins. He gets to go probably grab a ring and then have a opportunity for a big fat contract after this.
And fix his reputation, because right now his reputation is that he's kind of a diva. He's not a team player.
Can't win with
guess
him.
What? And I can't win with him. Well, guess what? He's going to the ultimate team basketball system. He gets to be coached under one of the best, coaches in today's NBA, and he gets to learn from him. He's going to sit right next to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's already said that. And so I think this is just a win-win-win for Golden State and Cousins.
And it doesn't really affect, when it's all said and done from the Suns' perspective, it doesn't really affect any of our outcomes, because we are that team that is saying, we're not going to try to compete right now. I mean, yes, we're trying to compete right now, but we know that our true window arguably starts probably next year. Maybe we'll shock the world this year, but probably starts next year. And then in 4 years, we're going to be probably the best team in the league.
I'm going to just add this really quick, and why I absolutely loved this signing, right? As a Suns fan, I won't lie, I was discouraged when LeBron went to the Lakers. And I'll tell you why, because we've been building this for a long time, and we've been saying, hashtag the timeline. Yeah. Keep believing. And then all of a sudden, LeBron just goes to LA and kind of lays down a card. And all of a sudden, all this hype around LA is going to be big, all this stuff. And it just felt so discouraging, because we're sitting here for years trying to build something. And and we are building something. I completely agree. But
our
it was
games on ESPN last 2 nights prime time. So.
Exactly. And then so it was a little bit discouraging though to see, okay, now all of a sudden this team who I thought we were definitely ahead of as far as on track of being the next team when you're talking about a core over the Lakers core. I was super excited about it. I never liked to see the Lakers winning. And then when they got LeBron, I was like, really? I kind of felt this is unfair, whatever, bitter fan. And then when the Cousins signing happened, I was like, this is perfect. This is why we are doing what we're doing, because we realize that our window is not now, it's in the future. And this kind of discourages, hey, yeah, you can try to go out and sign, but guess what? You also need to build. You need to build that core. And it's not just as simple of saying, hey, free agent, you know, the best free agent in the land, come to us and we're going to start winning. Golden State said, not so fast. We're still here, boys. And we're going to also try to trump that card of LeBron coming to LA and sign Boogie Cousins. So
where do you think LA finishes next year?
In my honest opinion,
with the squad they have right now, let's not say they get Kawhi. Let's say that it's
right.
LeBron, Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, Ball, Rondo, JaVale McGee, and whoever else they got over there right now.
I think the highest seed that they will finish is 5. I think that maybe they could squeak into the 4 spot, but you're looking across the landscape and you want to try to put them. You're not going to be above Golden State. You're not going to be above the Rockets, who had the best record in the league next year or last year. Nah. Maybe. They're gonna have Chris Paul back, and Capella signing that'll be a big thing, but it's looking like he's gonna sign back with the Rockets
probably.
So okay, you have those 2 teams. You've got Utah still there; they didn't lose anybody, and then you've got the Spurs that you can never count out. That's the one team that I'm like it's on the hinge. They're not gonna be better than the Thunder. The Thunder are gonna be better than the Lakers as of right now. Yeah. So you're still looking. There's still going to be maybe a 5 seed or lower with that roster as it's constructed. I'm not sold on all these 1 year, has been rookie or I'll give it. I like Rondo. I like the Rondo signing.
Not a Stevenson fan, not a McGee fan.
No, and I just see LeBron getting irritated with those guys not being in the right spot. Let's not forget, Lance Stevenson has not been a good player other than in Indiana. Okay, he went to Charlotte on a max contract, didn't do nothing. He did nothing. That's why they got rid of him.
Do you think that he's going to play better or worse with LeBron right there? With that perennial pushing you force, with that guy?
I think he's going to be worse, and I'll tell you why. When you look at his Indiana, when he played for Indiana, even in the playoffs, guess what? He was handling the ball quite a bit, especially when their point guard went out of the game. Guess who was handling the ball? Lance Stevenson. Lance Stevenson needs the ball in his hands in order to make plays. He's not a guy who's going to be a spot-up shooter, and he's not even that good of a spot-up shooter. So you're looking at the roster as it is. There's not a lot of shooting. With LeBron, you need shooters around him. We've seen this time and time again.
Probably, yeah. We do. For me, I got to put him. I got to give him at least. I'm going to give him 2 through 8 seed is where I could see him finishing out there.
Think as high as 2?
I think as high as 2, and here's why.
Okay.
Last year, the 3rd through the 9th seeds were separated by something crazy like 2.5 games. Mm-hmm. It was going down to the very last day. The 4th and the 5th seed, everybody had almost the exact same record. It was like everybody had 47 to 49 wins. Mm-hmm. who was in the playoffs and even going to the 9th seed down there. So you had everybody who was so close, and the top there was Golden State and the Rockets. So when you're looking at all those other teams that are right there, 3 through 9, you have your teams like the Trailblazers, who are led by C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. You have your New Orleans Pelicans, who are led by Anthony Davis, and Rajon Rondo was over there. You have all these teams that are basically led by one really good player and maybe a secondary player, and then like a bunch of other dudes around it. And I see the Lakers could be the best of all those squads. Like if you're taking a team that's led by one superstar, LeBron James is the superstar you'd want to lead your squad. So for that, I think that there's a chance that the Lakers, because of LeBron James, are the highest of all those other squads there in the middle. Do I think there's a chance that the Thunder are better than the Lakers? Of course, but the Lakers have a shot with LeBron James to be the top of that category. Mm-hmm. And then you've only got 2 teams left. You got the Rockets and you got the Warriors. And the Rockets, did they get better this year? No. They didn't get better.
They lost Trevor Ariza to
They lost Trevor Ariza to us, go us. But then Chris Paul's not getting any better. Chris Paul's great, but Chris Paul's not going to get better. James Harden probably is right at his peak as well. So I don't see that team getting any better. It's still a D'Antoni team, which we know it's capable of collapsing at any moment.
But that's not regular season. D'Antoni has a great regular season record.
That's true.
We're not talking playoffs. We're talking regular season. And this is something I will say.
Fair enough.
Is the LeBron we know is equivalent to 2 stars, right? So himself, he's okay. Unless you're talking Golden State. So Golden State's going to be number 1. We can kind of push them to number 1. So you look at the Rockets now. If they do sign Capella. Okay, let's say LeBron cancels out Chris Paul and Harden. Mm-hmm. There's no one on the Lakers roster currently that's as good as Capella. So I would put them above the Lakers.
I think Capella is a product of that system as well. He does a lot of really good things that are simple. He stands into the hoop. He catches lob passes. goes up
And
vertical.
he's a good defensive guy. He's a good defensive guy.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I would still put the Rockets above him. Now let's go to the Thunder. The Thunder, let's say you cancel out Westbrook and you cancel out PG-13. Well, they still have Adams. I think Adams is better than any player that the Lakers currently have on their roster. So that gives them the edge. So I put the Thunder above the Lakers currently.
Those are all fair points if you don't give any possibility of any of the other Lakers dudes having a strong next year. If Ingram makes a strong jump, if Kuzma makes a strong jump, if Ball makes a big jump, then you might have another player on that squad who is we should probably be a part of the conversation at least. There was nothing more that I would love to see than the Lakers miss the playoffs. For LeBron James, I love LeBron to miss the playoffs. Like, oh my God, that would be so freaking fantastic. It would just taste so good and dirty.
Imagine if the Suns are that team that gets that final 8th spot and kicks the Lakers out.
Oh my God.
How glorious would that be?
I got blood flow rushing in all different kinds of places at the thought of that. Like, that's just absurd. Like, the idea we were talking about that last night of if the Suns took out the Lakers in the last game of the season to take that 8th spot. Oh my, one can dream, right? And speaking of, we're going to have to take somebody's spot if we are going to actually compete for a playoff position. And I don't see a lot of teams getting worse that were in the playoffs last year, except for the Spurs. It's still Popovich. I think he's the greatest coach of all time. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on over there.
Yeah, there are.
Do you think that they could fall out of playoff contention this season?
I do think that they could. Like we just said, Greg Popovich, though, I never. He's like Bill Belichick. Even when Tom Brady goes out, I don't. I know this is a Suns podcast, but it's super equivalent when you're talking about Bill Belichick. Tom Brady goes out, and yet they still win 11 games. I find I don't ever doubt Greg Popovich. I do agree, though, if there's one team that I think could fall out, it would be the Spurs. The second team I would put on that list is the Pelicans, and just because Anthony Davis, he is so much of that team, and God forbid if anything happens to him and he misses any amount of time, that's a spot that could be up for grabs as well. And so when I'm, looking at the landscape, those are the two teams that I'm saying, those are the two teams that could fall down. Now, there's a big question mark still as how much of a jump are the Suns going to make? Let's remember we only had like 19 wins last season.
How much do you think that we have a chance? We signed Ariza, factor that in, factor in Ayton, factor in another year of progression from, we know Booker, hopefully Josh Jackson, hopefully Marquise Chris. We've already touched on the dumpster fire that is Bender. Yeah. What do you see us factoring in Ariza now? What are the Suns likely to do next year?
I want to be super optimistic. I think the max ceiling for wins is going to be like 36. And that's an all honest opinion.
No chance of 500.
I want to wish that, but you know me, I'm super realistic. I try not to have the pie in the sky kind of wishful thinking. I mean, sometimes I do have that, but I try to be like, let's be realistic in my expectations. And unfortunately, I think that we would be asking a lot. I think Ayton is going to have to take his lumps and bruises. I think sometimes he's going to disappear. Here's the real interesting thing that I want to touch on, and that's Josh Jackson, okay?
Yeah.
He gets these lackadaisical moments, but then when you fluster him, we saw it last night. He had the elbow to the face. And then all of a sudden, and
angry Jackson.
See how many times he was going up for these monster blocks, he was going up for tip dunks. Like, where is that guy all the time?
Dude, he sliced and diced Marvin Bagley, threw him on the grill, and had him for an early dinner last night. Like, that was
and then stared him down while doing it. Yeah. So if Josh Jackson can figure out a way to harness that energy through 24 to 30 minutes, because I think that's probably where he's probably going to get max like 30 minutes. I think if he can get that 30 minutes of that concentrated effort, then I do think that we have potential. I think Booker's going to come back. He's going to be better. I think he's going to, especially with this contract, he doesn't want to miss the playoffs. He said that last year. Right. He said, this is the last year I'm going to miss the playoffs. So I think Booker's going to be better. BK is a big question mark. I really want to see this guy play. If this guy can show us what he showed us, a few years ago, we got to remember this guy was dropping like 27 points a game. So if you're talking about BK, you're talking about Booker, he can drop 30, 40 points. If Ayton can consistently give us about 20, and then Josh Jackson can give us 20, we're going to be competing in a lot of games.
If Marquise Chris can be aware he's playing basketball the entire game, then like that dude has got some serious potential in there. I mean, he was a candidate for block of the year. He had a handful of other ones that were just nasty. I love the idea of pairing him up with Ayton. He's got a 3-point shot that he can make. He's a football player. Like he does stupid things.
So I mean, what do you think that we can possibly jump into those top eight spots? And what is your thinking how many games would you project the Suns on a high end and on a low end?
High end 45 games.
Okay.
Low end 30.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to go to 30. I think our floor is a little higher than that.
Yeah.
But when I look at teams last year, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had some really loaded star power over there, and we're giving Towns a lot of this credit for being a deep shooting, rim protecting big. Jimmy Butler doing what he does. Andrew Wiggins. We've already anointed Andrew Wiggins a long time ago. I mean, go winless for Wiggins. I remember 76ers were chanting that stuff as it was going on. When I look at that, team. I look at their coach in Thibodeau. I look at their bench. I don't know why. I think there's a very good case you could make that we would be in the same tier as that team. Okay. I think there's a good chance. Like, we have to hit our ceilings with it. But if Ayton's got a good shot of being better than Towns. That's true. Is it going to happen? No. Has he done it yet? No, he hasn't. But is there potential for that? Yes, there is. Booker should be an all-star this year. So we've got a true leader right there who's doing his thing. And then if we just get something from either Josh Jackson, Mikal Bridges, Brandon Knight, Okobo, if one of these guys can like really shock the world with it, we're going to have as much star power as the Timberwolves with it. And the biggest wild card of them all is Igor Kokoshkov. If our coach is able to string a system together where he can maximize each possession from each player on the court, I think we've got the caliber of players to go above 500. I think that this year right away we could. It's not super likely of it happening, but I think that there's a realistic chance with the star power we have, with the new coach we have. And the best thing about it is that everybody right now wants to be there. You had said don't ever count out the Spurs. Well, it's like, well, why? Well, it's because they have a great culture and a great coach. Right now, our culture and coach are a little bit of wild cards, but are trending in the right direction. So,
and I will say there's always, every single year, and there's a track record of this, there's always that one surprise team that comes out of nowhere. Blazers were that a few years ago. And you get these teams that are like, whoa, how all of a sudden they're winning. And we've even experienced that a few. Yes, the Utah Jazz. The Suns were almost that team a few years ago when we had Dragic and we just barely missed the playoffs. So I'm not saying it can't happen, because it certainly can. And when you're looking at the other teams within the bottom half of the Western Conference, we're the most talented by far. And that's not just being a homer pick. That's being, in all honesty,
we got real players.
We got good players. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's not in the realm of possibilities, because I definitely think that, like, I think that's a great estimate of 46 is maybe a high ceiling. I think that maybe we can push it, get 49, as if we are really, really clicking. Ayton really takes leaps and bounds between now and, halfway through the season, then it's possible. But the way that I see it, it's this Western Conference right now is so stacked. It's insane. And I think it could be funny, because we could be we could talk about this next summer, where we could be like, oh, we just came off a 47 win season, yet we still had the top 10 pick because of our record, because we didn't make the playoffs. So, and just get that much better. So,
I don't know about that one, insane. But it is crazy. It is going to be an awesome one. I can't wait to be touching in with everything here on Suns days as we move forward with the season. It's going to be a great team to track. Anything to close out with a game time?
No, just go Suns. I'm excited for the future, man. I'm excited to continue to talk with the Suns and with you, and really show our support and show what we're doing here.
I love this team so much, man. All right, thanks from the Go Gorilla podcast here. This is Austin Cyr.
I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks.
Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.